Hi everybody, it's Kristin Munoz. We're going to go over the cardiac conduction system and how it pertains to the EKG. The first thing we're going to start with here is the structure of our cardiac conduction system. So the cardiac conduction system is the system within the heart that provides electrical stimulation for contraction. It is composed of specialized cardiocytes that are autorhythmic, meaning that they have the ability to generate an electrical signal all on their own. Now, that electrical signal is going to start right here in our SA node. The SA node is basically called the pacemaker of the heart because what it does is it initiates the stimulation of the other cardiocytes to cause that heartbeat, but it also sends out pacing signals. So it's going to send out the initial system. It's then going to rapidly push that system throughout the atria, and then it's going to be picked up by the atrioventricular node, or the AV node. At that time, that AV node is going to go ahead and take that pacing signal, and it's going to pass it down right here through our atrioventricular bundle, which is these little nerve-like cardiocytes right here, and it's going to push that all the way through down here into the two bundle branches, and then finally into our Purkinje fibers. Now, the Purkinje fibers are little cardiocyte branches off of that bundle that extend throughout the walls of the ventricles, and they help to finally distribute the delayed AV node signal into the ventricular myocardium. So that's actually going to trigger the two ventricles to finally, finish that heartbeat. So let's go over these steps of our echocardiogram, which is also known as the EKG. Now, the EKG is a way to graph the changes in the electrical activity from the cardiac conduction system during the heart cycle. Now, the fluctuations in this, the changes in the electrical impulses is going to be measured by waves. So our first wave that we're going to have here is our P wave. Now, the P wave is when the atria begin depolarizing. Depolarizing basically means we're going to put in some work, we're going to contract. Polarized, if you guys can remember, means at rest or, kind of stable. So our atria are going to begin to depolarize, and we're going to see this P wave right here. The next step is going to be kind of this quiet little zone here between the P and the Q, and that is when our atrial depolarization is actually going to be complete. So these atria are completely compressed or contracted, and we're going to look at our QRS complex now. So the line here that's going to go from the Q to the R is basically going to be signified by our ventricular depolarization begins at the apex and progresses superiorly as the atria repolarizes. So our atria are going to repolarize, which means they're going to start resting. The AV node is now going to take that nice signal, it's going to run it all the way down here to the apex of the heart, and it's going to start progressing upward. And it's going to basically tell our ventricles that it's time to go ahead and start contraction. Now you're going to see the R to the S, and then also come up this little hump here when everything's done, is our ventricular depolarization is complete. So our ventricles are now completely compressed or contracted, and basically they're done with this total phase right here. The next phase we're going to see is going to be our T phase. So this, we get a nice another little lump, which is our T phase. Now the T phase is when our ventricular repolarization begins at the apex and then progresses superiorly. So what that means is our ventricles are now going to get their turn to rest. So they're going to start repolarizing here at the bottom at the apex, and it's going to move upward toward both ventricles. And ultimately, this stage, so the T wave, is going to be measured by this initial repolarization of this of the bottom part of the heart with the ventricles. And then the last stage that we're going to see is this green right here, which is going to be like the downward end or the last end after the T wave. And this is when our ventricle repolarization is complete. So our heart now is going to be completely at rest because our ventricles are at rest and our atria are at rest. So when it happens, the heart is ready for the next cycle and ready to start again. And then we come basically right back here to the P wave. I hope everybody was able to understand this and it was nice and clear. I hope you have a great night.